Hello and welcome back to the channel for another video. Before this video starts, I just want to issue a trigger warning. There are parts in this video that goes through allegations of abuse. So if that is something that you may find triggering, then this video might not be for you, which is fine. If you want to know who the person is, you can still watch the video without reading the allegations. That way you can get a background. If you're watching this video, there's a chance you may already know who BoyInABand is. But for those of you who don't, let's run through who BoyInABand is. So BoyInABand is the stage name of David Paul Brown, professionally known as BoyInABand, which we have already established. He's an English musician, songwriter, rapper, and YouTuber. 35 years old from the UK, and has been part of the music group You and What Army since 2007. Now, BoyInABand is famous for some things on YouTube, but what exactly are those? Well, Don't Stay in School is one of them, which you may or may not know. It has 46 million views. I remember when this came out, I saw the parents react, I think. Really interesting song. There's a few playlists on BoyInABand's channel. We have highlights, and so there's obviously Don't Stay in School and then some of these things. This video here is with Rumi, I believe. And if you look at uploads, you see that BoyInABand hasn't actually uploaded for 2 years. And the last video was with Rumi. Now, BoyInABand's songs is where you may have heard or seen Dave. He was part of Congratulations, the PewDiePie song, when T-Series overtook. Was also part of Life is Fun by the Odd Ones Out, and also featured in Asian Jake Paul diss track by iDubbbz. There's some more as well. If you go across here, you can see that there's different songs. There's also vlogs, and then there's channels that a BoyInABand enjoys. This next part is where the trigger warning comes in, by the way. I didn't want to just show it on screen. I just wanted to let you know that this is where it comes in. I'm just going to be reading a statement from Reddit in this next section. A post on r/BoyInABand reads as follows. Dear fans of Dave from BoyInABand, first of all, thank you for your time and understanding. We want you to know that we intended and tried to handle this as privately and as quietly as possible. Some time ago, a group of his ex-partners wrote a letter to his family in hopes of stopping the outgoing pattern of abuse. Below you can read that letter. We know there were more victims of his in the past, and if you're one of them and we didn't find you before, message us. All we want to do is to tell you that you're not alone and that none of it was your fault. Thank you. And the letter reads as follows. Dear Brown family, friends and fans of Dave from BoyInABand, we apologize for contacting you this way. We are a group of girls who knew and dated David in real life for, depending on the person, 1 to 6 years. Some of us met some of you personally. We know you love David and want to see him as a good person and a role model. We were also people who once loved him and cared about him deeply. We understand that you want to see him happy. Still, decades of enabling his abusive behavior have led to many horrific and dangerous situations that include years of lies, manipulations, and emotional, financial, physical, and even sexual abuse of many young girls. As you know, David is now a 35-year-old polyamorous man with over a decade of provable history of dating girls much younger than him, including his highly gullible, obsessive young fans. As you know, he once dated Rachel, who was 17 when he was 23. Rachel was a fan of his band and fell in love with him, and she was just 15 years old. David ended up hitting her and telling that to at least 2 of his future girlfriends, which we can also prove. Let us add that this relationship in many countries would be considered as pedophilia. There are 2 videos on his channel that include 17-year-old Rachel. In one, he brags about waking up next to her. In the second, he makes her sing a song with the following lyrics, "Take me without my consent. Everything is below." He has a pattern of preying on his young fans. After they admire him and write to him on his social media, he starts to date them. He tells them how much he loves them, that they are replaceable, and finally discards them for new ones as soon as they disagree or refuse to do whatever he wants. Most of these encounters include him renting an Airbnb to be with those girls for a few weeks, then discarding them. We know this is difficult for you to read, but it needs to be said. He also has a provable porn addiction that includes him being attracted to pre-teenage girls, women who dress like children, abusive porn, and assaults. He's a hebephile. It's sickening, especially considering that he dedicated his career to helping struggling young people and ended up harming many of them. Many of his past partners ended up in years of therapy due to the trauma caused by David. He has a pattern of dating and sleeping with a specific group of girls, younger, most of his recent girlfriends were 10 or more years younger than him, or whomever he has power over and control, and who are never his equals. What we mean by that is young poor girls, often students with no big careers yet, whom he can impress with his quote-unquote success and money. He exclusively chooses girls with a vast gap in money and influence so he can manipulate and mold them. Most of them were too scared to speak about it due to this reason. His preferences also include a physical superiority over his partners, looking very young, pre-adolescent, usually very skinny, and if not, he encourages them to lose weight, calling them lazy and disgusting. That's from a man who made a song with Jaden Animations to help girls with anorexia. He coerced multiple young girls into being polyamorous even if it was something that they'd never considered before him. He advertised it as a superior way of living which is highly inappropriate if not abusive. He tells his partners that they're replaceable, disappears if they don't do everything he wants, and treats them with zero empathy. They mean nothing to him outside of his pleasure, his wants, and his entertainment. When girls want to leave, he either blocks them before they can confront him or uses his depression and suicidality as cards to force them to stay until he gets bored of them. He uses his depression to control girls by justifying why he treats them like garbage or playing the victim card. He refuses to take any personal responsibility and accountability for how cruel, vindictive, callous, hurtful and abusive he is. If you ever wondered why years of therapy never really helped him, it's because he cannot face who he really is. And is unable to take ownership of the things he did, paint himself in a bright light in front of his therapist. Over the last few years, he repeatedly mixed his medications, including antidepressants / ADHD medication, with whiskey and weed. He used, abused, and left so many girls that he could, at this point, write an alphabet from the first letters of their names. Please remember, he advertised himself as a male feminist to the entire world, while in reality he's an abuser of multiple young girls. He acts similarly with his friends, treating them badly as replaceable, lying about them to make himself look good or to get what he wants. For example, after having no contact for more than a decade with his bandmates, out of the blue he tweeted that they used to ignore his self-harm, which was a lie, confirmed and confronted by his bandmate on Twitter and on Reddit years ago. Darren admitted that they talked after and both apologized, but Dave never acknowledged that and left that tweet on his front page for almost 2 years now, sending his Twitter mob on his past friends who have normal lives. And Dave got thousands of sympathy tweets from young girls that strongly relate to the problem of self-harm. He does things like that to get attention and pity all the time. Again, we're sorry that you had to read it. We're not his haters, not witch hunters, and not strangers. We don't want anything. We're not interested in being associated with him in any way. All we want to do is to warn his young fans about what can happen to them. Like you, we used to care about him, but he has to be stopped. Ours and yours enabling of this has to stop. He needs to face himself and meet the responsibility for the people he hurt before even more young girls get severely damaged, which they will then carry for the rest of their lives. Depression cannot be used as an excuse to treat people this way. Treating any human being in this way is inexcusable. Nobody has been left by him unharmed. Below you can find a little bit of proof of how he treated people, confirmed and proven by multiple of his ex-girlfriends and friends that he had hurt and replaced over the years. We know that you care about the persona he made for himself on the internet. We know you just want him to be happy, but he's not happy. He destroys people. He's an abuser, a groomer, a hebephile. We know this is hard. We never want to do this, but what about those girls? What about future ones? They're people. This needs to stop. He needs to be stopped. Please. Sincerely, what started as 5 girls is now way in the double digits. P.S. Let this be a lesson about romanticizing those who are mentally ill, especially with a young audience. We think and talk about depression when someone is sad all the time or suicidal. We never talk about the ugly parts of it, of how people like that can be manipulative, abusive, and can hurt people. And the voices of those they hurt along the way also need to be heard. And this pattern of behavior needs to be stopped. If we can just stop one girl from ending up hurt, I'll sleep better at night. Please do the same. Thank you. And then there's 2 pieces of evidence. There's this, which is 17-year-old Rachel singing Take Me Without My Consent on his own channel and his own songs, and he was 23 at the time. That's that. I'm not going to play it to you though, but it does exist. I have heard it. This Imgur thread is called Dave from BoyInABand, and there's a lot of images just about people talking about their experiences, like a lot. I'll leave it in the description if you want to read it. I haven't read it, but it does exist in case you're curious. I also would like to state again that these are allegations. I am not saying that he did this for legal reasons, obviously. If it turns out to be true, it's just very bad. It reminds me a little bit of the Bourne situation in some capacity. Apparently it's recommended to sort by newest here. The first 2 comments here are me when Twitter clowns believed in this when there's no proof. It's not that there's no substantial proof, it's that there's no evidence whatsoever, lol. And then this comment saying people are believing this when there's barely any evidence. The text messages can easily be faked. Basically a random ass account, and no X has confirmed this at all. I assume the texts are referring to this stuff. Which is true, they can be faked, you know, that's why it's allegations. I would assume that he will address it at some stage. As you can see, there's quite a lot of comments here, and there's some, I suppose, arguing or questions about proof or the legality of some of it, or just stuff like that, which I'm not going to go into. I will say though that YouTube is currently looking like this. Lost 30,000 subscribers in the past 30 days, but as you can see his total video views have gone up. He was losing subscribers occasionally just because from not uploading, I guess they were kicking inactive accounts and stuff like that, I'd assume at least. But if he does respond, if he comes out with a video or whatever, because I've made this part, I will most likely, if not definitely, make a video about his response if he responds, because that's only fair, and that's how I think things should be. Things should be followed up on, and not just have this video be like, okay, there's allegations about this person, let's never talk about it again, you know. We shall see what happens from here. Thanks for watching this video. Try your best after this to have a nice day, and I'll see you soon for more content. Peace.